All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something called cognitive sovereignty. And yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is super important. It's your right, your ability to think for yourself, especially now in the age of AI. We're going to explore how this incredible technology isn't just changing what we know, but the very way our brains work.
So this brings us to the big central question for today. Just think about this for a second. What if the very tool we've built to make us smarter, to be our ultimate brain booster, was actually making our own thinking, well, weaker? It's a pretty wild idea, so let's unpack it.
To really get how AI might be messing with our thinking, we first have to appreciate the amazing system our brain already has built in. You can kind of think of it as your mind's own internal quality control department. It's running 24/7. Now, the technical term for this is metacognition. It literally means thinking about your thinking. You know that little voice in your head that goes, wait, does this actually make sense? Or, maybe I should try a different angle here. That's it. That's metacognition. It's basically our built-in superpower for learning and for not messing things up.
And what's really cool is that this isn't just some abstract idea. As you can see here, neuroscientists can literally map this network in our brains. Using fMRI scans, they've found the key players. You've got the anterior insula. That's what gives you that gut feeling when something's off. Then there's the right inferior frontal gyrus, which is like your mental stop button for a bad idea. And the dorsal interior cingulate cortex, that's your error spotter. This is the actual biological hardware for thinking for yourself.
So, what happens when we introduce a powerful AI into this beautifully complex system? Well, this is where things get really interesting, and where we run into something that researchers are now calling the AI learning paradox. A huge 2026 report from the OECD on this exact topic, cognitive sovereignty, flagged a major concern. In study after study, a really clear pattern started showing up. AI gives you this immediate boost in performance, which is great, but that boost might be coming at the cost of real, deep, long-term learning. Let me show you the numbers. So in one huge study, students used AI to help them with some math problems, and their immediate scores shot up by an incredible 48%. I mean, on the surface, that looks like a massive win, right? The tool is obviously working. But that's not the whole story. Because here's the twist. When those exact same students later had to take a formal exam without the AI, their scores didn't just drop back to normal. They fell 17% below the students who never even touched the AI in the first place. The crutch they'd been leaning on was suddenly gone, and they were actually worse off than before.
And this perfectly highlights the two very different ways we can use AI. On one side, you have cognitive offloading, which is basically just letting the AI do all the thinking for you. The report calls this metacognitive laziness because it just bypasses that whole brain network we just looked at. But the alternative is cognitive scaffolding. That's where you use AI as a partner, as a tool to help structure and challenge your own thinking. That's what actually builds real, lasting skills.
So obviously the million-dollar question is, how do we make sure AI is a scaffold, not a crutch? How do we turn what looks like a risk into a genuine opportunity to learn even better? Well, to fight this, educators are now creating these simple thinking routines to force us to stay mentally in the game. It's a really simple 3-step process you can see here. The whole idea is to be deliberate. First, you plan your goal before you even touch the AI. Then, you actively monitor and question what it spits out. And finally, you take a second to reflect on what you actually learned. It's a simple little loop, but it's designed to keep those metacognitive muscles flexed. This quote from a European Parliament briefing just nails the core danger here. A person can become an expert at using the tech, an autonomous user, but at the same time become totally dependent on it for their actual judgment and reasoning, a heteronymous cognitive agent. In other words, you know how to get an answer, but you've completely outsourced the ability to know if that answer is any good. And look, this isn't just a challenge for you or me or for a single classroom. It is a massive global issue that's going to require new rules, new ways of governing our minds as they become more and more connected to machines. And right now, we are way behind. A 2026 UNESCO report dug up some pretty shocking data. Just look at this chart. Almost half of companies rolling out AI have no strategy, and more importantly, no rules for human oversight. Only a tiny 12% have actual policies to keep a human in the loop. We're adopting this stuff way faster than we're building the guardrails for it.
So, what's a real solution look like? Well, one really powerful idea that's gaining a lot of steam is to require cognitive impact assessments for any AI used in education. The idea is simple. Before a tool gets rolled out to millions of kids, it has to be tested to make sure it actually encourages critical thinking and student agency instead of just creating dependency. It's about being proactive and making sure these tools actually help us, not hurt us. When you put all this together, it points to a really profound shift. We're not just talking about new tools, we're talking about a change in the very definition of what it even means to think. We're entering an age of hybrid cognition, where our biological minds and our digital machines are becoming more and more tangled together. This line from posthumanist theory just says it all. We like to talk about AI as something that augments us, like a calculator on steroids. But the reality is so much bigger than that. It's not just helping us think faster, it's getting woven into our thought processes. And in doing so, it is fundamentally changing what thinking is. And that leaves us with the final and I think most profound question of all. As our thinking process gets spread out, distributed between our own brains and these powerful external systems, who or what is ultimately in control? The fight to secure our own cognitive sovereignty? Well, it's really just getting started.